Good morning, everyone. My name is Kelly Zonderwijk. I work for Arlington County as an energy program specialist, and I'm working along with Sarah O'Connell on the launch of the Arlington Green Games. So thanks so much for joining us this morning. It's hard to believe it's January already, and the Green Games are now officially underway. Today's webinar, specifically for office tenants, is meant to show you how your participation will actually be measured. What we're going to do is walk through the private section of the Green Games website and show you the information that you'll need to enter as a competitor in the program. Before we get started, let me just point out a couple of things about the logistics of today's webinar. We are encouraging you to join the audio portion with your telephone. That will make the question and answer period go more smoothly. So there's an audio box in the control panel of the webinar. You have a phone number, an access code, and an audio pin, and it's important that you enter the audio pin correctly so that we can unmute you should you have a question. Until the Q&A period, everyone is in listen-only mode. You all are muted. You can also ask a question in the chat window at any point during the webinar, or if you're not able to join on the telephone, and we'll go ahead and read your question out loud for everyone. During the Q&A session, if you do have a question that you want to ask verbally, there's a little raise hand icon that you'll see on your dashboard for the webinar. We will go ahead, call on you by name, and unmute you if we see you've raised your hand. And then finally, today's webinar, as with all of the webinars that we'll be offering through the Green Games, is being recorded, and it will be made available under the events page of our website in the next couple of days. So just a few brief introductions to the Green Games, and then we will go ahead and launch into how you complete your Green Action Scorecard. We'll move over to the website and show you how to do that. And then we will also hear from the Chicago Green Office Challenge. Our program is modeled off of a program that was launched in Chicago, and so we have someone on the line today that will be able to share some best practices and tips that they've learned in Chicago. And then we'll open it up for questions and answers. So since this is our first official kickoff webinar for the inaugural season, let's just start with a little bit of background on the program. Some of you we may have met with already, and it might be a little bit redundant for you, but we'll go pretty quickly. So as you know, the Green Games is a friendly competition running from January 1st to December 31st of this year for our inaugural season. It's a competition. Buildings compete against buildings, offices against offices to reduce emissions, energy, other sustainability practices. It is meant to be a highly interactive program. We have a very interactive website, but Sarah and I intend to be very engaged with you as much as you'd like throughout the entire process. We've spent time developing trainings. We will be sharing best practices and providing any technical assistance that you need along the way. Your property manager of your building hopefully is registered to participate in that track of the program, and if not, and you have a contact with your property management company, please connect us with that person so that we can get them on board with the program. Their participation, the building's participation, is measured in 4 areas: energy reduction, water reduction, waste diversion, and tenant engagement. That is, how many tenants in their building are participating in the Green Games, and are they engaged with them throughout the process. Their participation for the energy and water categories is primarily measured through a free online portfolio manager tool through the Energy Star program. They also have a private section to the Green Games website where they'll log in, record some of their waste information, and then again the tenant engagement information. You see on the right-hand side, we're asking them to set stretch goals or base goals for each of these categories, what kind of reductions they expect to be able to make over 2011. And you'll see below that how that then equates to gold, silver, or bronze awards. There will also be an innovation and continued success categories for those who maybe have already achieved an Energy Star label, for instance. They've already done a lot of energy retrofits and are performing very well energy efficiently. So we want to make sure that buildings continue that success, and we want to recognize that. For you as office tenants, you are probably aware by now that there are 6 categories through an online green action scorecard we've developed. It covers 30 different action items that you can take within your office space to reduce emissions, improve energy. The categories you see listed there: energy, transportation, waste, water, materials, employees and outreach, and then there's also an innovation category. And you will take the scorecard, work to make improvements, take the scorecard again, and your final point totals, as you'll see on the left-hand side of your screen, will then equate to the gold, silver, bronze, or recognition award categories. And there's a total of 100 points. So a couple of tips about completing the scorecard. Review the scorecard, the questions and answers, prior to logging on to complete it. In all probability, you will need to share it with other key staff within your company, maybe your purchasing director or your IT department. You might need to ask them some questions about policies or things they've been implementing. This is also a great opportunity to host your first green team meeting, which you can also earn points if you establish a green team within your company. And so those individuals might be key in helping you answer the questions on the scorecard. You want to be prepared to complete all questions of a category before you begin. That is, you can go in, complete your energy category, log out, come back, complete your waste category, so on and so forth. A special note, there's only one username and password per company. I think you all are probably aware of that. Right now, you can share your login information with others within your company, but again, only one username and password. This is only a benchmark right now to help you focus your participation where necessary. So the first time you take this scorecard, don't worry if your score seems low, because the point is to then work over this next year to raise your score. We have been, as I mentioned, conducting one-on-one meetings with registered competitors. If we haven't gotten to you yet and scheduled something, please reach out to us, let us know, or you'll be hearing from us shortly. We'll also be conducting follow-up one-on-one meetings in probably early March, where we'll go ahead and talk to you about your scorecard results. And of course, we want you to remember February 28th. That's the deadline for your benchmark scorecard. So you have a little bit of time between now and then to complete the first of your scorecard. And now I'm going to turn it over to Sarah O'Connell, and she is going to go to the Green Games website and showcase how you complete your scorecard.
Good morning, folks. This is Sarah O'Connell, and I work with Kelly on the Fresh Air team and the Green Games program. And so now what you guys are looking at on your screen is the home page for Arlington Green Games, which many of you have likely already seen. So if you've already registered, this is the site that you've come to do so. And as Kelly mentioned, I want to flip through to the private section of the website to show you all the scorecard and how to fill it out, and just a couple of tips as you're doing so. Before I do that, I did just want to remind folks of all of the information that is contained on the site. Again, this is a pretty interactive website, and there is a lot of information contained here. We do want to be interactive with you, but this is sort of our housing area for all information related to the program. So as you look across the top of the first box here, you'll see these different tabs or sections of the site. The About Us section gives you some background on the program. The News section, of course, any media coverage that the program gets is maintained on that section of the site. And many of you may have heard or read about some of the coverage that we got from our opening ceremony back in October. So some of those, all of the media coverage that the county got from that event is posted to that site, as well as any other coverage that has followed. On the events page, I do want to go to this section quickly to show you, again, that in addition to this webinar series that we have happening on a monthly basis, there are 2 other event series that happen as well. The Timeout Tuesdays, which is our brown bag lunch series, and the Mingling Mondays, which is a breakfast networking event. And we'll be reminding folks about those events as they're coming closer, but just wanted to point out again that this section of the site is here, and we've already outlined for the entire year the dates and times and topics for each of these event series. So once you actually go in and complete your scorecard and you've determined where you're going to be focusing your efforts in the coming year, it'll be really easy for you to check back with the event schedule to determine which events are sort of can't-miss events for you or others within your organization. Also, with regards to the webinars, all of them are being recorded and posted to the site after they've been completed. So if you scroll down to the bottom of the events section, you'll see this past events section. Any of the webinars, if you click the link, will bring you to a link for the recorded version. So for any that you can't make that you're really interested in learning more about, you can access them later. Other sections of the site, the how to play, I do want to jump over here. There are some of the information here, tips and tricks, which is some background information. We'll get to that in a minute. Best practices, we're going to talk a bit about that in a second as well. But also the who's playing section, and just wanted to, again, sort of remind everyone that all of our participants are listed on the site here, so organized by the different tracks of the program, property owners and managers, and office tenants. So if you are already registered, you should hopefully see your name, your company's name listed here. In addition to that, the competitor scroll bar across the bottom, which actually does appear on every page throughout the site. So I just wanted to remind folks that that information is here. Each of the logos in the scroll bar do actually link back to your company's website, so wanted to point that out as well. And then the other sections of the site, again, that sort of registration. If you're already registered, you've been to that site, and then just contact us information. So now that I just kind of reviewed that, we're going to go ahead and jump into the private section of the site. And when you first come to the home page, right now you'll see that I'm already logged in because the buttons you see at the top right say My Home and Log Out. So I've already logged in, but when you come here, there will be fields here to enter your username and password, which you will establish once you register for the program. And then that will direct you to what's called My Home. So this would be each competitor's actual dashboard, which is what you're looking at now. And this is our sample account for office tenants that wanted to review with each of you today. So at the top is just sort of your identifying information, but this main area in the middle box here is the link in the section for the scorecard where you're going to come to complete your scorecard. So this is your starting screen. Kelly had mentioned earlier in the presentation, one of the tips to completing the scorecard is actually review the questions and think about your answers in advance of actually coming to the site to submit your scorecard. And one easy way to do that is downloading a PDF version of the scorecard, which you can access right here on this part of the site. And it's something that you can download and share with others electronically if you'd like. And that's just a really easy way to share the information or review the information in advance without having to be live on the site. And then once you're ready to get started, you can just click on Start Scorecard. And what you will see is it'll jump right into the first category of the scorecard, which is energy. But you'll see that across the top of this section, you'll see the 7 categories to include innovation across the top. So Kelly had mentioned this, but I'll remind everyone that when you come in to complete your scorecard, it's actually organized into these 7 sections, as you can see. And you can complete them all at once, or you can complete them one at a time. But the most important thing is to complete one in its entirety and making sure to click the finish at the bottom before exiting so that your responses and your answers will be saved. And we're going to go through that, but that's just a sort of a high-level sort of reminder about how the structure works. And you can complete 1 or 2 or 3 at a time and click in one sort of session when you're logged in, and then you can come back later to finish the others if you'd like to. So we thought that was a great way to help sort of completing the scorecard. Now there are 30 questions across these 7 different categories. The energy scorecard has, I think, 7 questions in total. And most of the questions, they are either, most of the questions are choose all the answers that apply. Some are choose only one. So be really careful of that as you're reading through the questions to note where you can choose more than one answer. So you'll see on number 1, have you assessed your office's energy use? It gives you the total possible points possible for that question, a link to learning more about that particular action, and then below that, if yes, choose all that apply. If no, leave blank. And that's really important. So in this case, you would select whichever answer or all that apply. If you're curious in learning a little bit more on this area, maybe you have not actually assessed the energy use of your office, you can click that Learn More link to get a little bit of details about it and find a link to more information so that if you want to actually work towards that, implementing that action, you can do so pretty quickly. And all of these Learn More links, you'll find them with each of the questions, and all of the information that is contained within all of those links is in the Tips and Tricks section we noted earlier under the How to Play tab. So again, it's in the scorecard, but it also lives in the main area of the site as well for reference later. So you're just going to go through each of the questions, read each question, make note of the Learn More links if you're interested in learning more about that item, selecting each of your answers for the questions, if they apply. And when you're done, I'm just going to click on some answers here so you can see what happens when you actually submit a scorecard. And before you click the finish, there's a couple of notes here to be mindful of. The first is that if any of these questions you're leaving blank because the answer is no, you still need to click Submit or click Finish, and that will officially submit the scorecard to us. Your results will be saved under the Your Results tab, and you will be able to come back and change any answers if you need to, and I'm going to show you how you're going to be able to do that. So we're going to go ahead and click Finish. And then you will get this results screen that shows you for the energy scorecard. You got 13 of 30 possible points, and then it will show you how you answered each of the questions. And this information will live in this Your Results tab as well. So when you've completed all of the sections and you want to get a sense of where you are, you'll be able to quickly come over. But I just wanted to show you how this is reflected on the Your Results screen. So you'll see we've only completed the one, and that's the energy category, noting that my total points is 13 out of 100. Now if we go back to the scorecard, we're going to jump into another category just to show you how that will work and how that will impact your results. Okay, so again, it will default to the first category, which is energy. And now the message here is that you've already submitted an energy scorecard. So just a reminder, so if some time has passed and you're not sure if you actually finished it or not, the system will know that you've already submitted something, and we'll give you a couple of notes about whether or not you need to submit a new version or make any changes or updates. So we're going to jump into transportation. And we're going to run through these questions again, and I'll show you how the submission will work. Again, for each question, it'll give you the total possible points available for that question, the link to learn more, and then the instructions as to whether you are to choose one or multiple answers for that question. And then I'm going to go ahead and click Finish again. And so you'll need to do this for each of those 7 categories. And each time you'll get this result screen. So for transportation, I got 12 of 20 possible points. And now I can again see how I answered those questions. And now we'll hop over to the year results so you can see how that is now being reflected. So now you'll see the total points is 25 out of 100, and you'll see that split between the energy and transportation categories. And so as you move through and complete each of the 7 sections, you will see how the total points will change and how the second series of boxes here will show you the breakdown of points by category. And then below that, you'll see each of the your submissions will be noted here. We'll give you a date and time stamp for each of those submissions. And if you click on the actual scorecard submission, it will show you your results more specifically. So you'll see sort of that same screen you see when you first click Submit to show you, again, how you answered those questions. So if you think you might need to make a change to something, make sure you preview your initial submission to see if indeed you do need to make changes and figure out where those will be specifically. So we're giving you that history for reference. And one thing I want to make note of as well, we are offering 1 bonus point to competitors who are able to recruit another participant into the Green Games. If you are able to do so and that organization registers, we'll give you 1 bonus point on your final scorecard. So you're taking your scorecard now by February 28th, which gives you your baseline. But again, you're going to be doing the scorecard a second time at the end of the year, and we'll add that bonus point to your final scorecard. So hopefully a little bit of extra motivation for recruiting some of your fellow Arlington-based businesses into the Green Games. And I wanted to point out a new section to the private section of the website, which is a resources section. So you'll see when you get back to your home page, here we are again at the landing page for the scorecard results, and then you'll see this third tab, which is resources. And many of you have seen some of these resources, but now we are making them available. And what we have on here now are a series of posters. If any of you, if we've met with you already, you've seen these, or if you attended our launch event back in October, you may have seen these. But again, we have 7 posters to correspond to the 7 categories of the scorecard, trying to have a little bit of fun with this competition. So you'll see each of them has a game-related element to them. Energy Saving Sprint is sort of our main poster we've used in various forms to promote the program. Then you'll see transportation taekwondo, match point materials, etc. And we have two versions of these. We have one sort of with preset, we're calling preset rules of the game, which is the bottom section of the posters. And then we also have customizable versions here as well, where you can create your own rules of the game for the specific category. They go down in the bottom half of the posters. So those are available here for your use electronically or in print form. So we're excited to make those available to competitors, again, as a way to have a little bit of extra fun with the competition. So that is the website and the scorecard. Now I would like to turn it over to Kim Brokoff of ICLEI. And Kim joined the Programs and Innovations Department at ICLEI as a program associate last year in 2010. In this role, Kim supports the on-the-ground efforts of the Chicago Green Office Challenge and expanding the challenge to 5 pilot communities, of which Arlington is one. So now I'd like to turn it on over to Kim.
Guys, thanks for having me here today. Excited to share the results of round 1 of the Chicago program. And on the same token, looking forward to hearing about Arlington's success. So thank you for joining us today. Like as mentioned, I will be discussing a little bit about the Chicago program and some tips for tenants that we learned, some best practices. So the Chicago Green Office Challenge launched originally in February 2009, and it was created in collaboration with the City of Chicago and ICLEI Local Governments for Sustainability, who I work for. And so we're currently helping the City of Chicago manage and run this program, and we're looking forward to launching round 2 this month. This is just kind of an overview of the milestones for our participants, very similar to what yours will be for Arlington. Obviously, register, assess where you currently are by setting your baseline, set your goals, create the plan for what you hope to achieve during the challenge program year, implement those actions, and evaluate and get rewarded for them. So for us, our criteria for our participants is very similar to Arlington's. We have 5 categories, as you can see here, and we also have 4 tiers of achievement, Tier 1 being the highest tier. And I'll show you in a bit. These were the results from round 1 of the Chicago program. Now, though we had over 100 participating companies, you'll see that only 17 reached Tier 1. And most of those companies actually started in Tier 2 or Tier 3. So throughout the course of the year, we saw that many companies really implemented a lot of the actions in their survey, and they ended up, those in Tier 3 moving to Tier 2, and some of those in Tier 3 also moving up to Tier 1. I also wanted to note that no one achieved 100 points. And the way that we set up the program, that's not really the goal, to achieve a perfect score. So that might not make a lot of sense. The goal is to get into Tier 1 because that's the highest tier. And we want to encourage, you still get recognition as a Tier 1 participant, whether you get all the points or 76 points. And we do that so that way, people of various size companies or different types of industries, everyone is able and eligible to participate. So here are a few tips and tricks that we learned were some best practices from our 106 participating companies. One of the most useful things to do is to create a green team. If it's only one person in the office doing everything, that makes it challenging, and it might make it more difficult to get all of your action items accomplished. So by having a green team and having everyone work together and dividing up the tasks really makes a difference, and we definitely saw that our Tier 1 participants, almost all of them had green teams in place. Some of them already had them in place prior to beginning the challenge, so that was really great to see as well. As I mentioned, we recommend our participants fill out an initial baseline scorecard, and we encourage them to only record what their office is currently doing. We had some tenants who tried to do everything that they wanted to do before submitting their baseline, but the goal is that you just take a current snapshot of what your office is doing, and you have the remainder of the program year to try to increase your score. And so that way it's not as stressful to do everything in a short time period. You have an entire year to do everything. In regards to the green team, we also recommend that when you do meet, that you have a schedule and you determine the goals. So what we recommend, or what we found that a lot of our green teams did, was they divided each meeting into a category. So one category, they talk about the energy items. Another one, they talk about the outreach items. And then they'd say, okay, Sarah, you're responsible for these. At the next meeting, come back and let us know what's accomplished, or what, if you ran into any issues, etc. And that was really successful. It's also important, we found, to educate other employees who aren't members of the green team, to let them know that the business is participating, why they're participating, what the goals are, and then it just really helps make sure everyone gets on board, they're on the same page. They might help them understand why new policies might come into place, and then it's also a great way to help celebrate the success once your office has some achievements. It's, the survey that Arlington created is very convenient. You can log on whenever you're near a computer, so we recommend anytime that an action is completed to log on and to fill out the answers in there instead of trying to remember everything that you did throughout the year at the very end of the program. As mentioned, there are a lot of trainings that are available, so don't be afraid to ask for help from the program staff and attend the trainings, because those will be very useful, but also to be creative and have fun. And I'm going to share a few stories of what some of our participants did that we found creative. So here are a few best practices that we found from our outreach category and ways to engage employees. Some people showed movies, usually during the lunch hour, maybe Wasted or other movies relating to climate change or behavioral habits. And a lot of people just did brown bag lunch events, and during those they would learn about what the office was doing, the goals and achievements portion I mentioned earlier, and also share the success. And contests, which I'll get in a bit more detail about. We also have found some great innovations. Some people actually composted in their offices. They recycled other things that weren't listed in the surveys, such as packing materials. So if they received bubble wrap, let's say, they would save that and use that on their next shipment. And they also collected plastic bags, some recycled jeans, and used that as insulation in homes. So we found some really great things that people found for second uses in recycling. We had one company that actually evaluated their vending machine, and they kind of took out things that were really unhealthy, and they tried to bring in a few things that were created locally. And we also had a company, Levenfield Processing, which created an environmental citation, which I don't know if you can see this well, but we thought this was really creative. They basically, if you see at the bottom, it isn't fun. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, try to have an open mind. And what they would do is they would check something off, and they would leave this on one of their coworkers' desks. So it could be something as excessive use of paper or disregarding the environmental guidelines of the law firm. And so we thought that was pretty interesting, and they had fun with it. Some of the most interesting things that our tenants did for energy, well, first of all, we recommend that they monitor their energy use, which is kind of difficult in Chicago because most of the energy use is tied in with their lease and they don't have it sub-metered. But if you do, we highly recommend that so you can actually track your results and be motivated by the reductions you see. But there are ways to do light audits yourself. We had one company here, they went around and tested all of their light switches, and they found that a lot of the light switches, they didn't even realize what they went to, but when someone walks into a room, they just flip all of them on. So they used different colored stickers. Green meant, it was a very necessary lighting, and a red light kind of signified hopefully a pause for someone entering the room, and it's more peripheral lighting than necessary. We also had someone create a solar guide that they handed out to employees who sat by the windows, and it was instructions for how to use the blinds for optimal lighting and heat in the winter and shade in the summer, which we thought was really great. And you can see here these are actual savings from one of our participants, McGuire Engineers. They lowered their energy use by 10.8%, saved over 7,000 kilowatt hours, and over $600. And so that was really exciting to see. And they also said they were getting ready to move offices, and they thought it would be a great opportunity to kind of get some good policies in place before they switch locations, and they compared our program to LEED Light. And they said, it was really great because it helped them prepare for their LEED certification. So that was great to see as well. Waste best practices, a lot of people began to purchase or increase their use of recycled content, paper or office supplies that they purchased. A lot of people reevaluated their kitchenettes and got rid of styrofoam. They got rid of plastic and disposableware, and some of them even did kitchen drives where people brought in old plates or cups that they had extras of and stocked their pantries that way. It was also exciting to see that a lot of people started using pitchers of water and glasses instead of offering guests water bottles. This is another example of actual money savings from PepsiCo Chicago. They did a printer transformation project where basically they found that they had a lot of printers, 72, and they noticed that a lot of them weren't in use. They might have been at someone's desk when really they could have walked 10 feet to be in another one. So they reduced it down to 35 printers, and just in paper savings alone, you can see it was $25,000. So it was really great to see that. And they reduced the amount of paper they purchased double-side. They also saved electricity costs because they didn't have as many plugged in, and they also saved money in leasing. So we were really excited to see the success of that program. Transportation, a lot of people register for transit benefit programs, which are traditionally free for employers and a great pre-tax benefit for employees. We even had one office purchase a bike, so they had a bike share program. So employees, if you're getting lunch, instead of taking a cab, you could take a bike to a restaurant or to meet a friend. I thought that was pretty great. Excuse me. We also had a company, GATX, that decided to offset their transportation. And so they sold raffle tickets, they sold Jean Days, and they also accepted donations. And in total, as you can see, raised about over $3,000, and then their company donated on top of that, and they offset all of their car emissions and about 25% of their national air travel. So they're really excited about the almost 600 tons of carbon emissions that they offset. And our last category in Chicago is the property manager engagement. And obviously this part is because it's really important for us that property managers and tenants work together because the actions that tenants employ can really help benefit property managers' energy and water use as well. So we actually had Jones Lang LaSalle, one of our property managers in Chicago. They created a building-wide green team. They even took an open and empty retail space and made that the tenants go green area, and they put in tips and facts in that area so people walking by could see that, which was pretty great. And they would also meet quarterly to discuss and help their tenants reach their achievements on the scorecard, and also to discuss what they were doing as a property manager, which is really interesting for tenants to hear sometimes because they're not aware of all the steps that property managers are taking. But you can see here's another quote. They contacted their property manager and are learning more about what they're doing, and vice versa. So these are the top actions that our tenants implemented during round one of the challenge. As you can see, desktop recycling, desktop recycling, it was our top action item. E-waste, so old computers, printers, etc. Donated or recycled, that was the second. And again, green teams is very high, which we're excited to see because that is a very important part of the program in our opinion. And we did have approximately 40 buildings or property managers participate, and these are the savings. We had about an 8% average energy use reduction, 72 million kilowatt hours were reduced, which equated 54,000 metric tons of CO2e that were mitigated, and $5 million just in energy savings alone. So that was really exciting as well. And that's it. Thanks again for letting me share a little bit about the Chicago program and some best practices, and wish all of you the best of luck.
Great. Thanks so much, Kim, for that. We hope that we'll be able to replicate your successes here in Arlington. So with that, we want to open it up for any questions and answer, any questions that any of you may have. So again, just go ahead and click the raise your hand button if you'd like to, if you're connected to the phone and want to ask your question verbally, or we'll also give you a moment to type any questions you might have into the chat window, and we can go ahead and address them out loud. So we'll just give you a few questions, a few minutes to ask any of your questions. If you have any questions regarding the actual scorecard itself, how to complete it, or just programmatically how things are working, now would be the time to ask us. Okay, Zana, it looks like you have a question, and we've unmuted you, so you should be able to ask your question.
Okay, I'm not sure if my headset works. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My question is just about, I guess, water usage on the scorecard, because we have a very small office, and we actually don't have a kitchen or anything, and we share, bathrooms with other office suites. So basically, our scorecard, we don't really have control over much except, I guess, the bottom questions ask about, what we've done with the building manager to lower water usage. But aside from that, we don't really have control, and we would kind of have we would score low. So I know our building manager isn't actually involved in the green games. So I'm not sure how we can, have a higher score for the water part of it.
Okay. Well, that's a great item to bring up, actually, because what you'll find throughout the scorecard, and not just in the water section, but in the other sections as well, are questions about, have you worked with your property manager on X? And so this is an area where, in particular, we try to, a couple of things. First is that we try to acknowledge throughout the scorecard that there are things that do require collaboration between the tenants and the property managers in order to come to, a better choice, whether it's a product or a specific service. So we want to make sure that we're giving you sort of points for at least trying to reach out to your property manager on any specific number of actions. So we're, basically giving you credit for reaching out to them and trying to work with them about what solutions might be possible. So that's the first thing. In addition to that, property managers are also encouraged to work with their tenants, and in fact, they get sort of credit, if you will, to work with you. So while we're encouraging you to reach out to them, we're encouraging them to reach out to you. And I think Kelly may have mentioned this earlier in the presentation, that if you know that your property manager or the owner of your building is not participating in the program, try to, if it's possible for you to connect us with them, either by passing our contact information along to them or sharing their contact information with us. We would love to be able to reach out to them and see if we can help in some way in bringing them on board with the program. And, so hopefully in that way we can, in your case specifically, Xana, you said that they're not currently participating. So maybe if we can somehow get connected, we can help to bridge a little bit of that, work together.
And I would just add that when we developed the scorecard, we tried to be very careful. We tried to make something that was specific to office tenants, but also general across lots of office tenants, because everybody is unique. And so we did structure the point system in a way that if there's a category that doesn't really apply to you, you should still be able to achieve a gold award. And we have an innovation category where you could also kind of make up points that you otherwise maybe couldn't earn. So in your case, if you aren't able to earn points in the water category, but you do something innovative that maybe isn't covered in any of the other sections of the scorecard, you can then earn additional points that way. So, I mean, we want to work with you and make sure that you are receiving the recognition that we want to give you for the work that you're doing. And this will be something that once you do take the scorecard, as I mentioned, we'll be coming back and doing one-on-one meetings with you to kind of go over the results and understand and hear from you where you want to focus to improve over the year. And these are things that we can talk about when we do meet.
Okay.
Okay, it also looks like we have a written question. Do you want to go ahead and read?
Sure. The question is, we have an employee who did an outside event where she needed plastic bags to bag groceries. She encouraged everyone to bring plastic bags to the office for contribution. The bags were used for a food bank. Does this count? This is an interesting question, too. And I think it's a little bit of a gray area as far as how far do your practices extend into events related to office work or into our sort of personal life and other things. I think in this case, I think this is sort of an opportunity for, when you are encountered with situations like this where an employee is implementing a practice outside of the office or what you would normally be doing, it's kind of an opportunity for you to encourage them to think about alternatives to what they're going to be doing. I think to the extent that it's related to work-related events and the practices of your office and how much your office in itself is participating in the event, it's sort of your best judgment, I guess, as far as does it count on the scorecard. And having said that, I think if there are things that, sort of move outside the sort of 30 questions within the scorecard, but are things that are related to the topics of energy and sustainability that we want to hear about what they are. So if you did come up with an interesting solution in this particular case or alternative, we'd want you to hear about it. And maybe that's something that would get reflected in the innovation section if you were able to, if this event was something that was co-sponsored by your organization and you implemented the use of reusable bags instead of plastic bags or something like that, that's just kind of one thing that comes to mind. That would be something we want to hear about. So I think part of it is just use your best judgment, but there's certainly opportunities to extend the actions and ideas that are in the scorecard into other areas of our day-to-day lives.
Hopefully that answered your question, and if not, please let us know either now or offline. We can talk more specifically about your situation. Any other questions that anyone has? Oh. Zana, did you have another question?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
In terms of filling out the scorecard, I'm wondering if, I guess my question is, the deadline is the 28th, and if we're supposed to be filling out the scorecard as, these things happen before the 28th, or if these are supposed to be things that we've been doing before even joining the Green Games.
Right. This is actually, February 28th is the deadline for submitting your benchmark scorecard. And that essentially is a snapshot of everything that you've been doing to date. And the reason why we're requiring that for your participation is so that it can provide you with an analysis, allow us to get to know you and your efforts better, but also help kind of focus you in the areas where you can make improvements and work with us and identify the kinds of trainings throughout the year that you want to especially attend, the areas that you want to make improvements. So it is a snapshot of everything that you've been doing so far. and then you will take the scorecard again in early 2012, and that scorecard's total points will be what earns you the gold, silver, or bronze award. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, because I was just wondering if, because obviously I'm having ideas of things that can be turned over pretty quickly before the 28th, and I don't know if I should be putting that down because it's a result of,
Right.
Scorecard.
It won't impact your participation or the level of award that you achieve if you rush to implement something between now and February 28th, or if you work on it over the next year, because again, it's only the final scorecard's total points that count towards an award.
Okay.
So it's really up to you whether or not you want to try to get something completed and fill it out, between now and the February 28th deadline.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? And again, Sarah and I are here for you. It is a very interactive website. The scorecard does obviously live online. It's to a certain extent a self-evaluation that you're doing, but that doesn't mean that we don't want to be interacting with you as regularly as we can. That is a goal that we have, and so we're looking forward to getting to know each of you and your companies over this next year. Please do go ahead and take a look at the online, the events page on the website, because we have taken some time to develop all of the topics, dates, and times for all of 2011 for our Mingling Mondays, Timeout Tuesdays, and Webinar Wednesdays. And in addition to that, we're taking suggestions of other topics and issues that you might not see on the events page, but that you do wish to receive training or want to learn more about, because we will be offering some additional trainings throughout the year. So please interact with us. Please share your questions. Please share your ideas. And please, if you can, come to our Mingling Monday on this coming Monday. It is at the Arlington Transportation offices, which is in Roslyn. Should be a pretty convenient location for many of you. 7:30 a.m. to about 9 a.m. It is really just a breakfast networking event. We have identified specific topics to network on, so that each month you hopefully are kind of mingling with other competitors about a specific topic. This Monday's is on energy efficiency, and so we're hoping that you'll come and talk to others about things you've been doing in your office space to help reduce energy use, or things that you might want to do, and hopefully you'll get some ideas out of it as well. We will provide breakfast, and since it's our first Mingling Monday, we expect a good turnout and think it'll be a great way to kind of kick things off for the first year. So go ahead and go on the events page to learn more about that and to RSVP for that event. On January 25th, we'll also have a Timeout Tuesday, a brown bag lunch expert series. That'll happen here at the courthouse. Bring your lunch, hear from an expert on a specific topic. This first Timeout Tuesday topic is on greening your day-to-day operations, and we'll have an expert come in and share some information for you. So with that, I think that concludes today's webinar, and good luck with filling out your scorecard, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.